We're learning new details this morning about the 2021 U.S. drone strike in Kabul. Remember that during our botched withdrawal from Afghanistan? This was after our 13 were killed. It was called a righteous strike. Well, according to the New York Times, the Pentagon knew that innocent children were among the 10 dead and made misleading statements about that reality. Joining us now, former Green Beret and author of Operation Pineapple Express, Scott Mann. Scott, you wrote the book on this moment in time. Does it surprise you that the Pentagon knew within hours, a couple of hours, that they had the wrong target, but they didn't admit it?
Hey, Pete, Happy New Year. There's a lot about this whole thing that just doesn't surprise me. And certainly the way our executive leadership communicated to the American people, there were a lot of misses. I don't know all the details about what was going on behind the scenes of what they knew and when they knew it, but it certainly looks like, the Pentagon could have leveled with the American people sooner on this. And at the time of, you think about the moral injury, Pete, that was going on at this time, particularly with our veterans and watching their partners be abandoned. This just added more fuel to the fire, I think.
But why is the instinct, Colonel, to not just defend the strike, but call it a righteous strike, that it was a good, retaliation, when whoever's making that statement has access to the information we don't about the fact that civilians, yes, have been killed and that it was not the correct target? Why is that the reflex of the Pentagon, this Pentagon?
Yeah. I think there's a couple of things to unpack on this that's really important, kind of from a post-mortem perspective. Is first of all, when you think about the mechanics that do go into a strike like this, the men and women of our military services and the intelligence community, it's a very, very complex, difficult thing to do, to execute a surgical strike like this. And it's certainly on the heels of a catastrophic IED that killed 13 of our service members. So, and having been involved in some of those, I'm not going to Monday morning quarterback that, but yeah, to the degree the way it was spun, the way it was put out there as a righteous strike, to me, it's on the same par as saying this was the greatest airlift in American history, when in reality, it was the greatest systemic abandonment of our partners that we ever saw. To me, it's just spin. And I just think it added to the moral injury that so many of our veterans and, frankly, civilians are still feeling a year and a half later, Pete.
That's the right point. You and I both know, we've been there. You can tolerate mistakes that are made by professionals doing their best in impossible circumstances. That happens in war. I get that. But to then attempt to spin it afterwards because it's been such a cascading disaster makes it even worse for everyone involved. Lieutenant, last word real quick.
Yeah, just one other thing is let's look at the policy of what relegated our intel assets and our special ops to have to be behind the perimeter in the first place. That's what we ought to be looking at, is why are we using drones in a situation like that when we had elite forces on the ground that we could have put forward? Yeah,
why are we using drones? Because we're relying on the Taliban to defend us at the very end. Great strategy.
That's right.
Lieutenant Colonel Scott Mann, good to see you. Happy New Year.